Hi YouTubers, it's Steve again calling from Rescape. Week 4, my channel that seeks to aid and benefit people by informing them and helping them alter their fundamental view or perception of reality to benefit their lives or their lives or the lives of those around them. This will be my second video that is a weekly video, and it's my 4th week doing this, and it seems like it's been a long time. The past couple of weeks have been pretty hectic. I never really know what my videos are going to be until like the last second. Like it seems like something happens or just thoughts come to my mind like, okay, well this would be interesting to say, and then just a bunch of stuff falls into place in my mind like, okay, so I have like a general outline, not one I've ever actually gone over my mind, but I know I have a lot of stuff to say and I know it'll come out in a certain order, hopefully a good order as I say the video. With this one, I have a very vague idea of what this is going to be on, and I'm hoping it comes out right. I may just mail and be like a couple minutes, honestly don't know where it's going to lead, but today's topic is going to be on what I call the law of two. And it's called the law of two because the law of one is what we're normally accustomed to, not just in the United States being a country, you know, like individual freedom and things like that, but just being a human being. Like everybody experiences the universe as an individual, as one person. So there's not like law of one and law of two aren't, one's not better than the other one. It's not like that. But the thing is, law of one's very easy to understand, and we all get it on a intuitive level. And the law of two evades most of us, even though we hear it all the time, and it becomes sort of like just a little slogan that like people make, you know, like love your neighbor or put others before yourself or that sort of thing. And it's like, yay, help poor people, yay, or something like that. But no one actually ever does the law of two, because if they did, the world would be a different place. And everybody knows the law of two is better as far as it makes life more fulfilling. But the fact we don't do it means that there's something in our fundamental perception of reality that makes us instinctively believe the law of two isn't what we tell ourselves it is. Glow, stop it. So this video is going to give you some examples of what the law of two really is and how it can play out, and more of it's like its radical nature and how to make it really work. Because you could be like sell everything you have and give it to the poor, but it's like that's not realistic. Like how would it really work? And okay, so a way that the law of two would really work. Dang, Chloe. No, sorry, she's biting into my. I have jeans on. Thank God. Okay, so. No. Stay away. Okay, so she likes to wait till I'm not looking and she'll try again. Okay, so let's say you're going on a date. No, let's back up. Let's say there's a girl you like or a guy you like. Let's keep it on the male side, because since I'm a guy, I can sort of go with this in my head a little bit better. So there's a girl you like. Now, if you like the girl, you can ask her out and you try to impress her and hope she likes you. And let's say you go through 10 girls and half of them dump you, but half you like, but then you dump half of those, and then after a lot of dumping back and forth, you finally find one you like, but there's a lot of pain involved and people trying to figure stuff out, and people will be like, well, that's just life, you have to figure stuff out, and people make mistakes. Well, with the law of two, this is how it would work. You see a girl and you ask yourself, can I help her? Like, I have these skill sets and this is what I do and this is who I am. Is who I am and what I can do, is that something that would benefit her? And then if the answer is yes, then you go ask her out. And you liking her is secondary. Primary is, will she like you? And if she doesn't, then you don't like her, because your primary question is, will she like me? So in this situation, the law of two, there's no way you can get dumped, because if she doesn't like you, well, you don't like her. You've already set it up that way. And it works. Same thing works on the girl side. But basically, what you would do if the world followed the law of two instead of the law of one, what would end up happening is that, as far as like on courtship or mating level, you would have people going about, like, let's say you have speed dating. Speed dating wouldn't be you finding someone you like. Speed dating would be finding someone who you could benefit. And then imagine that every person in the opposite section of the world was looking to do that for you. Be like, oh, do you think I can help you? And like they all said that. Like that'd be like what it would be like in heaven, right? So go figure. But by the way, all the adjustments and the judgments of like the alignments, everything I give you, all these principles are going to be principles used 100% when people are in heaven. This is how heaven functions, and why heaven can be a perfect place and still have imperfect people. So yeah, in the law of two, like everybody's seeking to benefit each other, and And so what would happen then, you'd be like, well, they don't know what I want. I know what I want, so I need to go and figure out how to get what I want, because I can't just wait around because nobody's going to. But if everybody followed the law of two, which would end up happening is that people would be coming up to you, and eventually you'd find someone offering something you wanted, and then you would reciprocate out of gratitude. So whenever you hear about things, people like manifesting things and frequencies of like what frequency are you on, as far as like how you experience reality. A large part of this is how much you are functioning on what I call the law of two, and I don't know if anyone else calls it that, but that's what I'm calling, because the law of two is no longer about one person. It has to involve at least two people. It has to, because the issue then becomes a relationship. And how do you create a relationship? Relationships created on codependence. Like, you have something they want, they have something you want. And if you have something they want and you serve them, you become a servant to them, well then if that is connected correctly, whatever they send to you in return is out of gratitude. And then that's what makes the relationship. It's not two people trying to I want this and you want that, so let's work together to get what we want individually, because that's a relationship, but that's not the law of two. And like, for example, let's say you want to be rich. Well, according to the law of two, the way you be rich is you find the poorest people you can find, and you bring them out of poverty, knowing full well that the law of two is such that if you bring people out of poverty and you consider yourself to be in poverty, meaning you want to be wealthy, then God will bring you out of poverty, meaning He'll make you wealthy. So poverty is large. I mean, like, in this situation, you're like, well, just wanting wealth doesn't mean you're impoverished, but it really is. Like, homeless people can be wealthy, and you look at them and you think they're poor, but that's you thinking they're poor. Like, they can be like, oh, well, I have God, I'm the richest person in the world. And who are you to tell them differently? If they have somehow find food to eat every day, miraculously. And so really, it's you bringing yourself down to another person's level, and it's not even like karmatic, like, oh, what goes around comes around, because that's still spiritual willy-nilliness. Like, the way it works is like, let's say everybody in the world, well, everybody wants to be wealthy, mostly wealthier, or just have a certain level of wealth, just so they're not starving. So let's say, in order to do that, people do the law of two, and so they find poor people and they bring them up. Well, now what happens is you have poor people, and the whole world is helping poor people. So there is no poor people anymore, because everybody's helping poor people, and even like middle class people, you'll have rich people helping middle class people. And so what you're having here is that there's not a depletion of wealth to help the poor. There's actually wealth is being accumulated as a whole, like as a species, the human race is becoming more wealthy by lifting up the poor. So by operating on the law of two, even you as an individual making a connection with a poor person that needs help, and then you lift them up, and now you're being lifted up. But then the question is, well, since all of humanity is not lifting everybody up, and you're the only one doing it, and the poor person can't lift you up because they're poor, so how do you get lifted up? And that's a good question, and you just go try it out, and you tell me. So again, this isn't, I'm not going to make this sound magical, but if you really want to know these things, like just experiential knowledge, like if what you hold to be true is that when you help poor people, you become wealthy, and logically, like by the laws of physics, that doesn't come about, it won't increase the probability of you becoming wealthy by helping a poor person. Do it, and then when you do become wealthy, then write it down and be like, well, this happened, this came out of nowhere, I don't know, would that have happened had you not helped the poor person? Because if you go by like chaos theory, if you hadn't done everything the same way you did it, then it probably wouldn't have happened. So anyway, law of two. Okay, so another version of the law of two, besides mating and money, when you have communities of people, and I actually read this somewhere, it's about 150 people. If you're 150 or less people, people in that community are going to view each other as part of a group to the extent that where they will lift each other up. Like, there won't be any hungry people of those 150 people. Like, they will all be hungry. If there's anybody who's hungry, they'll all be hungry. And once it gets about after 150 people, they start splitting up into like other villages. We have 2 villages of like 80 people or something like that. No. And but what you find is that in that scenario, when you have people have an identity based off community, and this isn't communism like on a national level, this is literally when you have a group small enough where everyone knows each other, and you have them functioning based off the law of two. If they're functioning off the base of law of one, you don't have a community. They're trying to use each other to meet their own ends. It doesn't work. they'll rip each other apart, or they'll some of them will leave, or just something will change, or they'll all die, like however whatever the situation is. In the law of two, when they're no longer thinking what do I want, they have the assumption that they will get what they want when they serve other people. It's the same thing, like that girl I want to date, she will want to date me if I want if I want what she wants. So it always comes back to the relationship. What does the other person want? And then you have to have that. You have to view fundamentally your perception of reality is that if you serve someone and give them what they want, then you will have what they want. And it doesn't matter if they know it or not. You just become that kind of person that you will have what you want. And so in a community, we're like a capitalistic system in the United States. Everybody's like fighting each other to get, to accumulate whatever, and they never have enough, and it's just a lot of strife and suffering. And there's people that aren't like that, but they're the exception, and they know that most of the United States is like that, and so they're just off doing their own thing because they're trying to stay out of the way. So, but in these communities, it's no longer about what you don't have. It's literally like I'm a blacksmith. I can do these amazing things with metal, and look at this amazing smith I have, and all this stuff I can help. I can help protect the village with armor and swords, or I can, make wagon axles and things like that, just so people can trade for goods. And like in your mind, you're like doing all this stuff, and there might be a trade or barter, or it could be currency. But the thing is that your life fulfillment is not that you're making money. It's literally that there's people in your community that you care about are being benefited by what you can do. And it brings to mind, what can you do? It's not about what you don't have. It's about what you have. And this is for every level. You can, from the lowest bottom 3-year-old sweeping the floor all the way up to the mayor or whatever. It doesn't matter. They're all, it's the idea that there's other people that have needs, and they are able to meet those needs. That's the law of two. And the idea that, well, what about me? It's like, that's not in the law of two. You don't even think like that. It's like, it's not a what about you, because your needs are already met. Like, you're already going to get what you want. So you're not thinking about what you want anymore. So another thing I heard, which is a good explanation of this, is if you have a room, like a giant room filled up with like 1,000 or 100,000 balloons, you have 100,000 people, and in each balloon is a name of a person. And everyone has to find their balloon. They've got like an hour to do it. It's like, there's no way you can do it. But what happens is that if every person in that room pops a balloon and then starts yelling out like the full name of the person in that balloon they just popped, you'll have people finding each other's names because you can hear your name being called out. So instead of like trying to find your own name, you now have a balloon name in your hand, and you're trying to find that person. And how much more quickly do the names allocate to the right people? So I don't know how that would play out into real life. That gives you another idea of how that works. So, but what God always tells me, it comes down, because I always go back to the law of one. It's really hard, like if you're born in the United States, probably just in life in general or anywhere in the world, it's really hard to like, how do you make that transition of being, because you're with yourself, you're always with yourself. You can be alone. You can't always be with other people. Like, how do you make it so that your mind is centered on other people when you're always with yourself? And it always comes back, what God tells me, he hammers me over the head all the time. It's not what you want, it's what they want. And that is whatever scenario in my life it is. Like, I'm trying to figure out, and I'm always trying to figure out how to, get what I want. And then God smacks me over the head. He's like, it's not about what you want. It's about what they want. And he's not saying that what I want is not important. He's saying that that it's about what they want, and if I want what I want, it's still about what they want. It's like, it goes both ways. It's better for them and for me, So, and that's really, I guess, in a nutshell, that's what the law of two comes down to, is that if everyone's for themselves, it helps no one. And if everyone is not for themselves, everyone benefits. So I'm sure you'll get like free market capitalists going crazy over this. But it doesn't have to be in every sector of like civilization or every pillar of civilization. Like, you can still have a free market economy and be like this. Again, it helps better when you have 150 people or less, a community, or like a brotherhood or something. I think the army splits people up this way too, about how they fight, and like, I don't know how many people are in a company or things like that. But anyway, so it's 14 minutes. It's probably more than anybody will watch anyway. But I don't know how else to I think I've said enough where you kind of get the idea. But it's not about just loving your neighbor as yourself. It's like when you have someone near you, it's literally, how can I help them? And that's your instinctive thought. And it's to the degree of it's not even, you're just going to seem self-sacrificial to people, but really it's not, because you understand the power of the law of two. And you're not doing it because of that. You're doing it because you're in that mindset. Like, that's what the right thing to do is. That's how I want to operate. And then you don't have to worry about who you are or what your situation is, because you're doing what other people need. And so, and again, if you think that's crazy, and then like, if you do that, full time, no one's going to take care of you, and you got to take care of yourself. You know, just try it out. See how far you can get. I double dare you. I double dare you. Even if you don't believe in God, I double dare you to call God out and be like, God, I'm going to do the law of two to every person I know from here on out, and I won't notice what I want or what I need, and I want and see if God will meet your needs through those people by you doing that. I double dog dare you. If you don't believe in God, do that. Do it to the point of like where you're gonna die, you know, and it won't happen. It won't happen. I promise. And then you'll have to be scratching your head and and then figure it out like by the laws of physics and like what I know about psychology and sociology and economics. How can this possibly be happening that I'm getting everything I want and I'm not doing anything? And I don't, again, it's pretty incredible, but there's something. So it's not really an alignment because there's not a misperception for this. The misperception or the tension could be like the law of one, but even that can be based in truth. This is really something that you either see or you don't see, and you don't have to live by it. It's not a moral thing either. It's literally, I believe that it is more correct to do because uh, it models the functions of how people live in the kingdom of heaven. Like this is how everyone is. So, and if people are praying the sinner, you know, Father, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. If you pray that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, you have to be maintaining kingdom principles. If you pray that prayer and you are not maintaining kingdom principles, you broke. You are being hypocritical. So in that case, I guess if you pray that prayer and don't know what you're doing, then you really need to start doing the law of two, just so you can, so you're not being disgusting, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, okay, I'll leave it here. It's week 4. My name's Steve Robertson. This is Rescape. Leave your questions in the comments, and I will see you next week. Bye.